Now at 4, more rain on top of the rain that we've already seen. Some locations have received more rain in the last 4 days than in the last 2 months.
And we are monitoring flooding in Bartholomew County, where it is road closed all over town. I'm Samantha Johnson. We'll have the latest just ahead.
A Zionsvale man is still stuck in Dubai. We'll tell you how he's staying positive during an unprecedented situation.
We start right here. Water rescue teams on alert as flooding continues in parts of Indiana. Some of the southern counties are hardest hit so far. As we see from this video here in Columbus, they've been ready to go at a moment's notice since last night.
And we have a live look right now at Bartholomew County, just to the south of us, where there are multiple flood warnings in effect. And as Rob just told us, more rain is on the way. Good afternoon. I'm Felicia Lawrence.
And I'm Dustin Grove. We'll get to our crews in Bartholomew County in just a minute, but we do want to start with meteorologist Rob Ellis. So how much more rain is coming and when?
Yeah, I think the rain that is on the way is going to be a lot more showery in nature. The thing with rain and flooding especially is it's all about two things, right? How much rain has fallen and how quickly it fell. There is a time component that goes into that. So let me show you what's fallen so far. We're adding on top of this. Now, this is radar estimated, but I got to tell you, I think the radar is maybe underestimating at times, because over the past 5 days, it's estimating 3.3 for Indy. By the way, some of the areas hardest hit have been farther to the south, where the rain has been between 4 to 6 inches. As estimated by radar, but I said 3.3 for Indy. Keep in mind, we've officially received over the last 4 days 3.9 inches of rain. And by the way, that's more rain in the last 4 days than we normally see in the entire month of March. We are already well ahead of what we would expect to see by the end of the month. Yes, there is more rain on the way. It is a little bit more showery in nature. In other words, it's not that big shield of rain that we've seen over the past couple of days, or big batches of rain at times, but we do have these showery areas that are starting to move through, and it is producing some heavier rain in places like Columbus, like Seymour, Bartholomew County, where we saw Sam earlier. These are areas that unfortunately are going to pick up a little bit more rain. About 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch is possible, but there may be isolated spots that pick up an inch or more. Temperatures have been very mild, 50s and 60s, and because there is so much moisture at the surface, we could have more problems with fog as we look to the overnight and into tomorrow morning. I think once we get through about midnight, fog will become more widespread, and especially as we get into tomorrow morning, fog is going to be a concern. But look at this, overnight lows into the 50s. Tomorrow, we're talking about getting close to 80 in some spots. That could also lead to some concerns with the possibility of storms. I'll outline all of that for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Okay, no, you'll keep an eye on it for us. One of the hardest hit areas, as we mentioned, is Bartholomew County. That's where we've seen flooding in several areas.
And that's where there are more than a dozen street closures right now and shutting down major roads. Samantha Johnson is live at one of those sites. And Sam, can you tell us where you are and what you're seeing there?
Dustin and Felicia, we are on the south side of Columbus. So we are standing on State Road 11. This is looking towards Columbus. So if you're familiar with this area, this is just north of Garden City. And this is State Road 11, and all that water you're seeing is coming out of the East Fork of the White River. It has closed State Road 11 in multiple parts of Columbus and Bartholomew County. I want to give you a closer look at some of this flood water, and that's because according to the latest maps, there are at least 4 locations here in Bartholomew County along these waterways that are considered extremely above their normal levels. And that can be dangerous, especially because the East Fork of the White River isn't expected to crest until tomorrow morning. That means this water is still rising. Today we talked to Shannon Cook, the EMA director here in Bartholomew County. She says even when that crest does happen, it could still be a few days before this water goes down.
Wait till the signs are removed, because even after the water recedes, it could be that there's debris or there's damage to the roadways that need to be cleared before we can open those back up and make them safe for everybody to drive again.
Now, some places in Bartholomew County, by the way, saw close to 5 inches of rain in just the past 2 days. So while we are seeing a lot of road closed signs all across the county, Bartholomew County, according to the state's latest travel advisory map, is not officially under a travel advisory, but as you can see, it's causing a lot of headaches here in town. We did talk to a resident who lives just up the street. She says, unfortunately, she's used to this. She deals with it year after year, but she says the flooding this year is a little different. We'll tell you why, and you'll hear from her coming up on 13 News at 5.
All right, Sam, thank you so much. And we're actually going to continue our weather coverage on WTHR Plus.
That's right. We've got our live Doppler radar there. Plus, you can find your extended forecasts and the blogs. You can download that free of charge. All right, now we want to get to breaking news out of D.C. We've been following it this afternoon. This is where President Trump has fired Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Her dismissal comes 2 days after she was grilled on Capitol Hill about the aggressive tactics of her immigration agents. President Trump says he's going to nominate Oklahoma Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin to replace her as secretary, and then he's going to make Noem a special envoy for the Shield of the Americas. That's a new security initiative focusing on the Western Hemisphere, and of course, as we learn more details on what that's about, we'll let you know.
6 days after the war, it is clear that the U.S. Has failed to achieve its main goal, which was a clean, rapid victory.
Strong words today from an Iranian foreign minister regarding the conflict in his country, which is now in its 6th day. Meanwhile, both the U.S. and Israel continuing their attacks, and Iran has also kept up their retaliatory attacks. The war has escalated each day and now is affecting an additional 14 countries across the Mideast and beyond.
The death toll is also rising as some Americans are still leaving the war-torn region. Brian Abel has the latest on the conflict, evacuations, and the growing political fallout in Washington.
As the conflict enters its 6th day, the war in Iran is expanding and further drawing in U.S. allies.
We're working with the Americans in the deployment from our bases.
Fresh waves of Israeli strikes setting off explosions in Tehran and in Lebanon. Iran firing missiles at Israel and targeting an Amazon data center in Bahrain and 2 Amazon facilities in the United Arab Emirates. With the spread of violence, the death toll rising. More than 1,200 people killed in Iran since Saturday, according to state-affiliated Islamic Republic news agency. The Pentagon identifying the remaining 2 of the 6 U.S. service members killed in Operation Epic Fury as 45-year-old Major Jeffrey O'Brien and 54-year-old Chief Warrant Officer Robert Marzin. As the security situation for civilians abroad grows more dire, some flights in the Middle East are resuming, along with the first U.S. facilitated charter flights carrying Americans home Tuesday.
Our highest priority is allowing this to safely happen.
Those evacuated Americans returning to political turmoil as Democrats in Congress question the justifications provided for striking Iran in the first place.
The president had a feeling, again, based on fact, that Iran was going to strike the United States, was going to strike our assets in the region.
They have given no coherent plan as to what was the imminent threat.
Senate Republicans Wednesday rejecting a resolution to rein in Trump's war powers. A similar vote in the House expected Thursday. In Washington, Brian Abel.
And as the conflict in Iran continues, many Americans are struggling to leave the Middle East, and that includes a man from Zionsville.
We first introduced him to you on Monday. Ella Rhodes has been keeping in touch with him every day since. So Ella, what's the latest? How's he doing?
Yeah, Dustin and Felicia, he's hanging in there. Ismail Inja is actually still stuck in Dubai. His flight for today got canceled, but he tells me he's still trying to stay pretty positive and, keep a routine going. So we first told you about Inja when he saw these missile strikes from his hotel over the weekend. He went to Dubai for a business trip. That went from a 3-day trip to 1 week and counting. His wife, Julia Pettigrew, got him a flight for the 15th, but Inja wants to try to leave sooner if possible.
That's what I'm worried about. 1 more week. I'll just try to find a way to get out of here. I do not want to sit here for another week. Definitely not. I want to get back home, see my family. My wife, she's not sleeping. She's very worried.
Who told me today the process of trying to get him home was very frustrating. While she's at work, she's constantly calling the State Department and the embassy to get her husband home. So yesterday she was on the phone for 5 hours, and it's just been a lot, and she's extremely worried.
Yeah, understandably so. Absolutely. So I understand that he saw or at least heard some strikes over the weekend. Has that happened since?
Yeah, so far, no, but actually just after I got off the phone with him this morning, the siren went off to shelter in place, and he called me back to tell me that, which he clearly didn't have to do, but so he's trying to stay as safe as possible.
And he's by himself.
So originally, yes, he traveled there by himself, but he made a friend while he was there, someone experiencing the same kind of challenges as him, a young man from Switzerland. And now the two of them are staying in touch, keeping each other company as they're navigating this unprecedented situation. Inja even invited him to come visit for the Indy 500, of course. And you'll hear from both of them ahead at 5.
That's a special connection. Certainly you don't want to be by yourself in a situation like this.
No, you can help each other, but that is also very Hoosierly.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we
Finding
do.
the positive in it.
Yeah, when we get back home, we'll go.
Thank you for staying in touch with him. We'll see you again at 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just talked with Indiana Senator Todd Young a little bit ago about this conflict in Iran. He told me ideally he would have preferred President Trump have come to Congress first, but now that we're in it, he says it would be irresponsible to abruptly get out. You have approved this offensive?
Well, it's hard to tell, because what's unfortunate about this situation is though we were fortunate to have a classified hearing yesterday, we were 100 hours into a war by the time we got the hearing. There has not been a lot of follow-up. There are still questions to be answered and facts to be known. So I don't know whether I would have. The case was never made to members of Congress. It was never made to the American people in a fulsome way. So that's where I think we've fallen short. But again, this is a horrible regime. We are now at war with that regime as a country. Not as a party, as a country, and we need to do whatever we can to bring this to a close quickly, but to be successful. And if we were just to turn around and pretend that we weren't at war, that would be very, very dangerous to America.
You can watch our entire conversations with Republican Senator Todd Young and Democratic Congressman Andre Carson on Crossroads Politics this weekend and online anytime at WTHR.com. And Felicia, coming up at 6 o'clock, we're going to air part of my conversation with Senator Young. I asked him what else he wants to know at this point and what he thinks Hoosiers should need to know. And so we'll have that part of the story coming up at 6.
Yeah, as citizens, you certainly want more transparency and also the 3 branches of government to work so that there is a system of checks and balances to make sure that everyone is being safe and things are going the right way.
More to come. Yeah. Still ahead here at 4, remembering fallen Beech Grove police officer Brian Elliott and helping the family he left behind. We're hearing from those who are raising money through merchandise. We'll tell you about it.
Also looking for more victims. Green police believe this man may be behind, and I should clarify, Greenwood police believe this man may be behind a list of crimes against children.
And we've been talking about that flooding that's ongoing. We're getting a little bit of a break from the rain, and that's certainly helpful. Now we talk about record high temperatures on Friday. Could we get close to 80? I'll show you coming up.